Well, the Steelers are 10-3, but now is the time in which I think we're going to really find out what this team is made of. Welcome everybody to the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. My name is Chris Halicke. Joining me is Matt Williamson. Matt, what's going on, my friend?
Not a lot, dude. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Good.
I have family in town from Texas, and we had some snow this week, so it's been a lot of fun.
Well, they're probably getting a kick out of that, huh?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's funny. My mother-in-law, like, she went sledding with her kids. Not that there was a lot of snow, but there was a little bit to do, just a little bit. And then she gets up and she goes, "That's the first time I've ever sled." I'm like, "What?" Like, there you go. All right. So the football team that we cover, they're doing pretty good. They're 10-3.
Yeah, they are.
A big win over the Browns. I understand the Browns are not a good football team, but it's still a big win. 27-14 final score. A game in which the offense was really kind of not great for a whole half, and they still end up scoring 27 points. Just early takeaways, or just quick takeaways from that matchup. What did you like? What didn't you like from that performance against Cleveland?
Yeah, and I think we need to focus on the Eagles more than that. Going forward is quite the gauntlet coming up here in a brutal game in Philadelphia. But it's huge when you take care of business, and it's real easy to say, "Oh, they just took care of business, nothing to it." Well, we're not out there playing. I mean, you beat the Bengals and the Browns back to back in the division.
Mm-hmm.
That carries a lot of weight and puts a lot of money in the bank so that you can stumble in Philadelphia and still be okay. And, sets you up for a little bit of a cushion. And you're right. The offense wasn't glorious. I thought the defensive line was much, much better than when they were in Cleveland. That was a big shock to me on the Thursday nighter. Mm-hmm. But I also thought the Browns lost it to some degree too, and I think Tomlin and company kind of knew they would, there's an art to not losing games, and the Browns aren't particularly good at it, and the Steelers are.
Yeah, it's one of those games in which, Tomlin doesn't have to pull out every trick that he has up his sleeve in order to try to win the game. It's just, let's play some sound football, let the opponent beat themselves to a certain extent because, well, they're a bad football team. That's what they're going to do. And that's exactly what happened, to your point. I really liked the way Arthur Smith came out in the second half with his play calling. I thought those two series coming out of the half, obviously the Browns got the ball to start it off. They missed a field goal. And then those first two offensive series, they go down, they score touchdowns and put the game pretty much out of reach at that point, made it 27-7. I thought the play calling on those was inspired. I thought it was there was a purpose behind a lot of the things. I think sometimes we get so focused on, okay, well, they're not running the ball efficiently well enough. And I do think they need to run the ball more efficiently no matter what. But I think
one of my biggest concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But when you see the play calling in that, you understand what he's doing whenever he's seemingly running his head or just, banging his head up against a brick wall, being like, "We're going to run the ball, damn it." It's like
there's more method to the madness.
You saw the intention behind the play calling. You're like, we are going to get Cleveland to think that every time we are doing anything, whether it's an RPO, whether it's play action, that we actually are going to hand the ball off. And it got those linebackers to bite up, even got safeties to bite up. The Van Jefferson touchdown was a really good example of that. Some of the other things that other plays that were called on those two series, I thought those two series were some of Arthur Smith's best. And you kind of saw the intent behind what he's doing. Now, like I said, all that being said, there's still some things to clean up, and they have to do it because the upcoming gauntlet is going to be pretty. I think it's going to define the season that they've had, even though they are 10-3 at this point. What's your? Would that be your biggest concern right now before we really start breaking down Philadelphia? Would that be your biggest concern right now? Would be still not running efficiently enough, or is there something else that's kind of got your attention?
I would say two things. Like my hunch is, well, let's just put it this way. Like, let's say they go to the playoffs, win one, or get bumped in the first round, or get bumped after the second round, whatever. And we start talking about, okay, what do they need to get to the next level? The low-hanging fruit, and it's obviously very topical, is I need to compliment the Pickens on the other side, a legit, starting receiver. I mean, but we know that guy isn't on the roster and isn't coming for the rest of the year. So we're going to worry about that down the road. That's not happening this year. I mean, you can maybe get away with what you got, but my other one is just frankly 3.9 yards per carry, which is only better than the Raiders and Browns, ain't going to cut it for a heavy running football team. And again, this kind of brings us to the Eagles. Like they don't have Pickens. Well, now this lack of a number 2 or complement is even more apparent. And then you look at the Eagles, the only team that's more of a voluminous running game than you, and they don't average 3.9 a carry.
No,
no, you see the difference, right?
Yeah. Once we really start breaking this down, we'll take a break here and just a little bit and really get into it. But there was a stat that really just kind of blew my mind when it came to their running the football. But yeah, obviously, I think this upcoming game that they have against Philly, I don't think it's a must-win at all. I think of all the final 4 games that the Steelers are playing, this is actually the one that they can afford to lose the most because it's a non-conference game. If they go into Philly and get shellacked and get beat 37-6, I think while a loss like that would be concerning, I also don't think that it would be the reason to start selling your Steelers stock at the same time. It's a place the Steelers typically haven't performed well. 2 Super Bowl teams have gone there and not played well in the past. The Super Bowl 14 team, the Super Bowl 43 team, both teams went into Philly and played terrible games and lost. It's just, that's part of it too. I do think history does kind of play a little bit of a role there, but also Philadelphia's a really good football team. They're 11-2. And if I'm Mike Tomlin would never admit to this, but if I'm Mike Tomlin, I see what's on the other side of it. If you punt on this game, which they won't and they shouldn't, but if they were, I wouldn't blame them, because the game you want to win, because no matter what happens in Philly, if they win by 50 or if they lose by 50, the only thing that does is clinch a playoff berth for them if they win. But what you ultimately want to do is win your division, and doesn't matter what happens in Philly. If you go into Baltimore and win, division wrapped up, no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't want a nagging injury to get worse than out for the year. Like, if this was the first round of the playoffs, would Pickens play? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, with Ogunjobi, with Elliott, maybe.
That's been the debate for me, especially seeing George walk around the locker room. He's not walking around like a guy who's got a sore hamstring. Now, I'm not saying that,
or even like the hard knock stuff on, on the sideline, like, let me in there, like, not like,
I'm not, I think he's, I'm not saying like I'm trying to start some sort of conspiracy theory here that
there's something, there's an issue. Yeah.
Yes, but I also, to your point, if the Super Bowl were being played Sunday, I think he plays. So I think he plays. So either way, we're going to take a break.
I think it's smart. I'm with you. Like, when in doubt for this one, the goal is bigger than ending the losing streak in Philadelphia. That's not the goal here.
No. The goal is to go into Super Bowl 59 and win, not to end a 59-year drought in one city. Exactly. All right, we'll take a break real quick, and we'll start getting really kind of into this matchup, because there's some things that really intrigue me. And while Philadelphia does seem kind of like an unbeatable foe, I think there's a way to go at these guys. So we'll be right back right after this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Sunday, 4:25 in the afternoon, Philadelphia, the wrong side of the Commonwealth. I'm not looking forward to the trip. It's just not a place I like being. I've only been there a few times in my life, and it's a few times too many.
Our buddy Dale Lawley said the exact same thing as we were walking out of the radio station. He's like, boy, this is my least favorite trip. Everyone just said the same thing.
It really is.
Just like bad mojo about all of it. Yeah.
I remember like that 2022 game in Philly, covered that game obviously. And then like the working conditions in the stadium are fine. Press box is good. Press dining's nice. The locker room, all that kind of access and everything like that. It's fine. It's actually probably one of the better stadiums actually.
Yeah. They're a high class organization. I mean, they spend money on and off the field and all that stuff.
It's just, I remember walking from the car to getting into the media gate. I'm like, can't stand this city. I just can't. I hate it. I don't like it at all. Anyway,
they booed Santa Claus.
They booed Santa Claus.
Right.
Of all the people in this world, Santa Claus. All right. But regardless of the city itself, the football team's really, really good.
Yeah, they are.
They got a really, really good running back, Saquon Barkley. I've been a fan of his ever since Penn State. Whenever the moment
they should play this game at Penn State,
they should play this game.
I've said that for years.
University Park, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Happy Valley.
Awesome. They'd fill it, half green, half black and gold. Yep. They should make an agreement that we never come here, you never go there. Anytime it's on the schedule, we're playing at Happy Valley.
They should. I would enjoy the trip a lot more too.
It'd be a blast.
Yeah, but I've been a fan of Saquon's ever since Penn State, man. The moment that I saw him, it was against Iowa, hurdle a guy, and while he was in midair, take a guy who was literally running in a full-on sprint and tried to hit him as hard as he could while he's in midair, in which you have no way to gain any leverage whatsoever. And the dude bounced off of him, and he just landed on his feet and kept going.
Yeah.
That's whenever I found out, like, okay, this dude's a freak.
Yeah, he's a total freak.
How do the Steelers stop him?
They're not going to stop him. They could slow him down. I mean, the Ravens kept him under wraps. The Browns, some of the better defenses out there, the physical AFC North type teams, did okay against them. Mm-hmm. It was a long time ago, but the only time Barkley's ever played against the Steelers, he ended up with like 6 rushing yards. Now, he didn't have Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson. And, obviously it's a different environment. Mm-hmm. My hunch tactically, it's kind of boring, is I would not play hardly any man. Hurts's numbers against man are way better than zone, which I think is more of a Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown stat than it is Hurts stat, but whatever. I would play a lot of cover 3 with an umbrella over the top with a real Steeler-esque rush plan to keep him in the pocket. And put as many able bodies by the line of scrimmage as I can. It'd been nice to have Elliott for that, but
it really would.
Some people have said maybe Sutton's going to play more free safety or KZ, and Minka's going to be your near the line of scrimmage guy. I could see all that for this
2021 Minka.
Yeah. Maybe you get that wrinkle. Maybe even blitz a little bit just to try to keep Hurts guessing a little bit. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to him, but.
Yeah,
their biggest concern in terms of like a Super Bowl run to me would be Hurts at the moment and holding the ball and just not being comfortable. And if you could have that boa constrictor style pass rush, don't run past them, then they're the best in the league at that. I think that'll give them problems. But I'm avoiding the question of how do you stop Barkley, because he's still really hard to tackle. And if you miss him, he takes it to the house. That's not great.
Yeah. So I think it should be a tactic in which pretty similar to the way that they play the Ravens. Not that Jalen Hurts is Lamar Jackson,
right?
But there was in watching that game and then talking with some of the players afterward, they pretty much like, especially on like the read options, because those are the things those are the things. Something as simple as a read option. That's something that a lot of teams get flustered over because they think we can't let Lamar Jackson beat us. And so they'll make sure that every time they run that read option, that edge guy is going to contain the edge and make Lamar hand it off. Well, when that happens, Derrick Henry eventually becomes a force to be reckoned with in a game. The Steelers had the opposite strategy. They were like, no, edge guys do not stay on the edge for Lamar. Crash in on Derrick. We are not going to let Derrick Henry run all over us. We're okay with letting Lamar, because we believe in the speed of our second level guys and our secondary to at least limit those Lamar runs.
But that back seven improved team speed, I think, is huge for all this.
Absolutely. And I think they have to have a similar approach here. You have to pretty much sell out to get as many guys going at Saquon as much as you possibly can, even if that means you give up 2, 3, or 4 chunk runs from Jalen Hurts. I think you'll live with that.
That's not the end of the world. Yeah.
Don't let Saquon be the guy to beat you, and easier said than done, because if
he's going to get yardage.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Just don't hit the 80-yarders to me.
The stat that jumped out to me in doing my homework on this was Saquon. His yards before contact per attempt is 3.76 yards.
That's bonkers. Yeah.
That to me means it's not just Saquon. Now, obviously, Saquon's a part of that because his vision's really great. He can make adjustments before he even gets to the line of scrimmage. Part of that is Saquon.
Fast. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But also part of that is the offensive line. They have a really good offensive line in which before he's even getting contacted, he's getting nearly 4 yards before somebody gets a finger on him. That is, to compare, Najee's mark is a yard and a half. Like it's night and day. Josh Jacobs has a similar number to Najee up in Green Bay, about a yard and a half, a little more than a yard and a half. It's like the Philadelphia is also doing a great job of scheming ways for Saquon to get going before he even gets contacted. And so that to me is the big concern. But I do want to switch it to the other side, to Philadelphia's defense, because
quick, and this applies to the pass rush, of course, too, is I think it's easily the best set of tackles in the league. You know, Lane Johnson versus TJ Watt is Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer, and Mulata is a rare talent being coached by an awesome offensive line coach and turning into a superstar. And the interior is not too shabby either. Yeah.
I do want to switch to, because for as much as I could talk about Saquon for 30 minutes. Philadelphia's defense is really good too. They got the number 1 total defense.
I'm more concerned about that side of the ball.
Really? Okay.
I think that favors Philly more than the other way around. When Philly has the ball, I guess.
I see that, because all 3 levels of their defense are
quite good.
Do I want to say stacked? Because I feel like it's stacked.
There's a lot of stars. I mean, this roster in general has got a lot of stars. I mean,
it does.
Didn't even spend much time on AJ Brown and
I know, that's crazy. Their front, even without Brandon Graham, is still really good. Jalen Carter in the middle, Sweat and Nolan Smith on the edges. They've got some guys up front for sure. But I honestly think their front might be the worst part of their defense.
Me too. Jalen Carter is unbelievable. Jordan Davis is massively overrated, and it's not the front that it has been with Graham and Fletcher Cox and Hargrave, and usually they have like 8 dudes up front. Now they've got some,
But to me, it starts at the linebacker position. Dean and Zach Bond. Bond should be an all-pro, in my opinion. I
think he's been the best linebacker in the league this year. I'm not saying he's better than Fred Warner, but Warner's playing the broken ankle. I mean, I think he's been the best linebacker in the league.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, he's to me, if he's not first team all-pro, something went haywire in the voting. He's already got like 129 tackles. He's got an interception. He's got multiple pass defense. He's got forced fumbles all over the place, fumble recoveries. I mean, you name it. He's got like 3.5 sacks to go with it. Like, he's all over the place. He's a like you said, he's a freak. And then you talk about their secondary. How do they play so well as a unit together? Because I could go at a number of different ways, and I've got some things that I've noticed about them. But what are you seeing from their defense?
Well, they love to be a nickel.
Yes,
and I know this is exactly what you asked, but something Dale and I have talked about a lot all week is this defense has seen the highest percentage of 11 personnel against them in the league, and I don't understand why. Like, why would you want them to be a nickel with Dejan, who's a star nickel corner? Now, I'm sure some of that's late in games, comeback mode. We're going to put 3 receivers on the field. But for the most part, offensive coordinators are choosing to play 11 against these guys. even if Pickens was healthy, that wouldn't be my strategy. I want to get big. I want Jordan Davis to play every snap and be huffing and puffing like crazy. Their defensive tackles and D lines not as deep as it used to be. They play the lowest percentage against 13 personnel. I'm playing 13 like crazy just because they've never seen it, But I think Fangio's a really, really good coach with a really, really good scheme. And I give the front office credit too. Like, they, more than anyone, have ignored safeties and linebackers over the years. And I'm sure you could give their front office, their GM, true serum, and he wouldn't have been like, oh, when we signed Zach Bond, we thought we knew he'd be the best linebacker in the league. No, but they at least put some resources into the middle of the defense, middle of the field defense. It used to just be D-line, corner, So I think that they realized that strategy can't totally moneyball it,
Yeah.
And so I think it started in the offseason.
Yeah, but I'm going to say, even through the draft, getting Quinyon Mitchell, getting Cooper DeJean, like getting those two guys, like that's really made that secondary one of the better ones in the league for sure. Yeah. That's one thing I noticed too, was how often they're in nickel. I mean, it's like 81% of the time they have 5 DBs on the field. And so
maybe they'll play nickel against 13. That would be great. Give it to Najee 50 times.
That's what I thought going into this game was. I've specifically said it needs to be a game in which they put a lot of 12 personnel on the field and have a lot of Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington.
Agreed.
I think it's a good way, because if Philadelphia wants to play out of their nickel defense, then great, play out of your nickel, but we're going to play bigger and we're going to try to exert our dominance physically that way. If you're going to play a smaller defense, then great, we should be able to take advantage of that. And I think that's what the Steelers should do too. I'm glad we're on the same page there, that we're both seeing the same thing, because I think that's the only way to beat this defense. If you try, especially without George Pickens, to go out there with 11 personnel and try to let Russell Wilson try to tap into some sort of fountain of youth and try to be the best version of himself he's ever been and try to gunsling it against that defense, I don't think it's going to work. I think they have to
Mike
be able to...
Williams, Austin, Jefferson, and Skowronek. No, I don't think that's going to keep up with A.J. Brown and getting Saquon Barkley.
No, they have to find, and plus the best way to let, it's the same old adage when we talk about what's the best way to beat Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Well, keep him on the sideline. Well, what's the best way to beat Saquon Barkley? Well, keep him on the sideline. Possess the ball for
gives
35.
You a fighter's chance.
Yeah, possess the ball for 35 to 37 minutes, completely dominate the clock. That can absolutely be done. Now, again, the Eagles front is the weakest part of their defense. They like to play out of nickel. To me, the strategy does seem pretty easy. Line up in your big formations, run at them. Whether it's Najee Harris, whether it's Jaylen Warren, no matter what it is, to me, that's the way to beat this defense. But
I just don't know if that can get you enough points to win the game.
Yeah, what they have to do is they have to be really good in the red zone. They have to be able to move the ball efficiently on the ground, and they have to find ways, I think there's some ways that they can get the linebackers to open up the middle of the field a little bit, like try to get the running backs involved a little bit more in the passing game.
Particularly Warren. I think Warren's still being a little underused. Yeah.
Right. And then that way the linebackers are forced to have to really, really pay attention to those running backs, which might help open up intermediate passes to the middle of the field to Pat Freiermuth or Darnell Washington, one of those two guys. They have to find out ways to get the tight ends involved in the passing game too, especially since you don't have Pickens. And they've been better
about it with Freiermuth the last couple of weeks. So it seems like they're starting to get it with him,
Yeah.
A little late, but
Any other notes that you had from doing any homework on this game that you really wanted to bring up? Because I'm glad we're both on the same page when it comes to how to attack Philly's defense, because I thought the same exact thing.
A couple things that, I'm stretching a little bit, but would have to work in the Steelers' favor. Like if we get together on Monday and be like, wow, how'd the Steelers win that game? I think there'll be some things like a blocked punt. Their kicker has yet to make a 50-yarder all year. Like he missed kicks by them. Flummoxing Hurts. I mean, he's at the top of the league of strip sacks allowed, and the Steelers are at the top of the league at strip sacks. And winning in the margins, I guess, is where I'm going with this. Neither one's a highly penalized, or they're kind of middle of the road in penalties. But here's a really weird thing about them, which I don't quite understand, but they are. I just lost it here. Okay, here we go. They score 1.3 offensive points in the first quarter of games. Like, that's not only last, but that's 792nd out of the 796 offenses since 2000. It's like historically bad. Now, only the Lions score more than them in quarters 2 through 4.
Right.
But if somehow you could get up 10-0
right
and
away,
just kind of control the flow of the game early and land body blows from that point on, and Jordan Davis is tired and you get a kick or something that goes your way, it's so Tomlin-esque, I mean, I know all the bettors in the world are like, Tomlin on the road getting points, give me them, like there's a games he wins. It's crazy,
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Get off to a fast start. Absolutely, because if there's another way to make Jalen Hurts or at least the Eagles more one-dimensional, it's to get out to a lead early. Force them to be a little bit more pass heavy than they want to. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. The problem is that the Steelers have been
that's not their specialty either. Right.
No, they've definitely been more of a kind of feel out what the opponent's doing, make adjustments, and then once we make adjustments, then everything's hunky dory, everything's great, and they're the 10th scoring offense in the league. But this might be
good and bad. Like, what are you doing all week? And then, wow, you guys adjust really well, though. It's a glass half empty or half full situation. Right.
Right. All right. Moment of truth, Matt. What's going to happen in this game?
For the site, I wrote in my prediction is 27-17. I've given it more thought. I think it'll be 24-17, the Eagles, just because I do think Tomlin can muck it up, and I don't know that the Philly's going to run away with this thing, but I just don't see enough firepower in black and gold. If Pickens were involved, I might pick it 23-24. You know what I mean? I just don't know where the points come from for the Steelers.
Yeah, I do get that. I understand that. I said I went against my better judgment when it came to that Thursday night game in Cleveland. I'm not doing it again. I'm sticking with my gut. This is going to be a loss. I don't think
it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. But I think I'm not a superstitious person. I'm really not. But I think even if Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley weren't playing this game, I'd still pick the Steelers to lose. I just don't.
Kenny Pickett?
There is something about playing on the wrong side of the Commonwealth. Like I said, the Super Bowl 43 team, the 2008 Steelers, great football team, all-time great defense. The offense wasn't great, but it was obviously good enough. It had enough firepower. They gave up more sacks than they scored points in that game. There's just something about playing in that stadium. I don't know what it is, or just playing in that city. I don't know what it is. But the fact of the matter is that Philadelphia, outside of Brandon Graham and there's another guy who they have who's out. Oh, Dallas Goedert, the tight end.
They're really good players, but they're really healthy overall.
Yeah, they're relatively healthy. They got their quarterback, they got their running back, their offensive line's great, their defense is great.
Their injury report's like empty.
I don't like this matchup for the Steelers at all. No. My final score, I'm going to say the Eagles put up some points. I'm going to say 31-20. I'll say the Steelers get a garbage time touchdown or something like that, and at least get to 20 points or something like that. I don't feel great about the game. I just don't.
You think by halftime it'll be pretty much the story been written? Huh?
Yeah. I think, it might be kind of like an Indianapolis game in which Philadelphia just gets out to a big enough lead in the first half in which the Steelers are then forced to pretty much throw their way back into the game. And again, when you don't have George Pickens, I just don't like that matchup. So,
they don't even throw the ball in the second half. I mean, like, it gets crazy. Like, A.J. Brown has 15 targets in the second half over the last 9 games. Yeah. He's A.J. freaking Brown, come on.
Yep.
They don't need it.
No, nope. No, when you can run the ball that like they can, why not? I mean,
yeah, right.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it. Hopefully for Steelers fans, Matt and I get proven wrong, and we're talking next week about a surprising victory in Philly. But either way,
stranger things have happened, but
yep,
I don't love it.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't like the I don't like the matchup, but
no.
You never know. You never know. All righty. Well, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We'll figure out a day. I don't know if it's going to be Thursday or Friday. I don't know which day it's going to be. Since it's a Saturday game that follows in Baltimore this upcoming couple of weeks, in which they've got 3 games in 11 days, we're going to do everything we possibly can to get the show in. But obviously the holidays and having a game on Christmas, and it's just going to
be a
make
nightmare for us.
Yeah. So we're going to do the best we can, but either way, at least try to enjoy this game. I think it's the first time Tom Brady's ever calling a Steelers game as a broadcaster.
Oh, really?
So look forward to that.
That's something.
I won't be hearing it in the press box. So either way, take care, everybody. Appreciate it. Catch you guys on the flippity flip.